Welcome to the Old Ways for the New Age podcast, where we weave the threads of traditional living into the tapestry of modern day life. I'm your host, Hannah, and I'm a naturopath, herbalist, and passionate plant lover here to discuss topics such as daily ritual, intentional living, witchcraft, herbal astrology, plus sharing interviews with inspiring guests, and so much more. Thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a podcast review if you enjoy my content. I wish to honour and express my deepest gratitude to the traditional custodians of the unceded land on which I live and record, the Wanjerabara people. I want to acknowledge their elders, past, present and emerging, and their continued connection to the land, sea and community. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Hello everybody, and welcome to the final part 3, of my conversation with Meghan Rhodes, herbalist and teacher behind the Heritage School of Herbal Medicine. Today we are completing our walkthrough of her 8-season model, where we explore the remaining seasons and how they weave together the wisdom of the Wheel of the Year, and then also the ancient knowledge of the Ayurvedic Doshas. And really this last chapter is full of super practical guidance and insight to support a more connected and seasonal way of living. So I really hope that you've enjoyed part 1 and part 2 already, and that you are ready to finish off and complete this seasonal cycle almost of our conversation. And I know that I really enjoyed every part of my discussion with Meghan, and I encourage you to make sure that we're going to cover it at the end, but make sure you check out her website, her social media, and she is accepting applications now for 2026 cohorts for her intensive herbalism course, Awaken Herbal Wisdom. And if you are in the UK, it's really unique because this is a blend of in-person and online, which is becoming harder and harder to find. I think that we really can't discount the incredible learning and growth that happens with in-person mentorship and apprenticeship. And this is how herbalism was originally taught. It was taught by learning underneath somebody, watching them walk through life and help others with their own systems of healing and their own modalities. So I think that being able to go and hang out with Meghan in her yurt and learn plants with other plant people would be such a beautiful experience. And I'm kind of jealous that at this stage I haven't been able to do it yet. But if you are in the UK, this could be a chance for you. If you're going to live in the UK for a period of time, this could be a chance for you. And overall, I just, enjoy the episode, enjoy my last part of this chat with Meghan, and let us know your thoughts, share it, tag us. We'd love to see you listening. And just thank you again for being here. The wheel turns again and we're heading into Lamas or Lunasa. I don't know how you pronounce, like which term you use for that spoke on the wheel, but
I call it the first harvest. That. Yeah, okay. I call it the first harvest or the grain harvest, which I came across in some book. I don't remember which one it was, and I thought, oh, I like that. Yeah. It's the top of August, and again, for me, growing up in Florida, does this make any sense? No. It's still roasting. It's still very hot. This is, the one, August is kind of like the one time of year when my parents can't grow any food in Florida because it's too hot. Whereas I'm like, maybe our tomatoes are finally ripening now. Maybe, or at least like we're getting tomatoes. But the first harvest, the grain harvest. So this is the whole make hay when the sun shines thing. So this is very real for me in my village because the tractors are just going up and down and up and down and up and down because they're literally all harvesting the hay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're getting that ready, preserving that for the winter. And that happens before like the food harvests, before now they've been doing the potatoes and things like that later. So the grain harvest, it's that bit when you've got that gorgeous summer day, and then you get a breeze, and there's that little bit of whiff of autumn in the air, and I'm like, autumn is coming, but I'm like, not quite yet, but yay, so we're soaking up those last bits of the summer sun, of the freedom, of the flexibility. Rhythm is coming back. If you were out of rhythm over the summer, rhythm is coming back. And sometimes there's that bit of a sense of urgency mounting from a land-based perspective. It's like everything is happening, and this is the time when we start getting everything in this season and the next one. Get it all in, get it all in, get it all in, because you need to close the fields down or the veg beds down or whatever it is, and you've got to have all your stuff stored and prepared for the colder months when things aren't growing fresh. So sometimes it feels like a bit of it is, or it's that last bit of summer before the school, season kicks in again. So it's that kind of wrapping it, everybody gets a little bit right. Don't get carried away with that, because Pitta is starting to decrease. And I know if you're in Florida, or if you're a very hot place in Australia, you're like, Pitta is not decreasing. In the background somewhere, it is just a little bit. But, I appreciate the differences. But Vata is accumulating. And if you let yourself get in a tiz now, you are setting yourself up for the opposite of success in the next season. So we're preparing for the turning inward. We're doing the gathering. We're savoring. We're appreciating. These are those last bits of those stretched evenings, and we get those beautiful, like the sunsets, and the sky starts to get a little bit more golden, orangey, gradually, this kind of thing. So we are in action, but it's sort of an appreciative action. Mm-hmm. It's a grounded action rather than getting whipped up. So depending where you are, you might be shifting from hot and humid to warm and dry, or you might not, and anybody listening in Florida is going, no, humid 24/7, 365. I know. I've been there. My hair's been there. But if you have lots of overflowing pitta or excess pitta that's been going on over the summer, remember that the vata that's building is like a fan, and it's fanning the flames of pitta. So again, work on bringing that down, grounding. If you want to do a really gentle cleanse reset, Ayurveda would do a khichdi cleanse. So this is not a stop eating. This is not a drink celery juice for a month, kind of thing. This is a cooked as pre-digested through the cooking process as possible, gentle on the digestive system reset time. This is a good time to do it if you want to do one, because things are shifting, things are changing, and there's still that warmth, that energy outside. When it's cold, we don't do it, because just like the same as eating cold raw food, it's intense on the body. So there's still the warmth, we can still do it.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're moderating vata as it increases, so it doesn't overflow in the next season and turn into all those autumnal coughs and colds and that kind of thing. Yeah.
So the first grain harvest, definitely, I've heard that one, and it is a time, I think, in kind of more Celtic circles where, there would be celebration over bread, and I guess the way that we're eating is starting to shift. But, I guess there's ways we could do that from an Ayurvedic perspective that would be a little bit more beneficial for our digestive systems, as we've just talked about. Though, obviously, bread is delicious.
Yes. And I guess I'll add in, if you're really still feeling that overheatedness from all that heat building up in the summer, if that's still in you, you can do, it's called CCFT, cumin, coriander, and fennel. So, yes, top tip. So that's a tridoshic blend. So it's suitable for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is, as a blend, can be a little bit on the laxative side. So just, like
Righto.
tune
good
into your
good
body.
forewarning.
Yeah, but that's part of it, is clearing out the excess heat. Yeah, it's really, really great for balancing the digestive fire, processing anything that's in the body, and if there's excess heat, flushing it out. So you just take cumin, coriander, and fennel seeds, and you simmer them in a little
Mm-hmm.
pot, and then make a nice flask of that. You can definitely drink that cool / room
Okay.
temperature. You do not have to have it hot, especially if you're working with it because you've got too much heat in the body. So let it cool and then drink that throughout the day. And that will just, again, if you don't feel like doing a Kitchery cleanse, that's a
Mm-hmm.
cool the body. They're all seeds, right? So it's
Yeah,
grounding, but it's
I like that
cooling out the
idea.
excess heat. It's grounding, so we're not going crazy into the next season. When,
Mm-hmm.
once it starts getting cooler where you are, that is your cue to start shifting back to your warm teas as opposed to your room temperature stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so then we go into the second harvest, which, is a little bit different, less focused on the grain, as you
Mm.
mentioned, a little bit more focused on like the peak of our produce and time when we would be like canning and preparing to save our food through the rest of the season. And I know traditionally there was a lot of focus on, this was the time where when you would find out whether you had enough food to carry you through the winter. So there's a lot
Mm.
of symbology there, but what do you call it? A second harvest? Is that what you call this season?
Yeah, second harvest, fruit harvest, autumn
Mm-hmm.
equinox. Yeah, I mean, this is the end of September. So now we've definitely had, or, obviously flip for Australia, but
Yeah.
the apples, the squashes, all the fruity type that, your plums, all of that. Um, so it's very, cornucopia like.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which I really
Feast
like.
time. Feast time.
Feast time, and busy time. Like for us, once we harvest the garlic, which you can definitely do earlier in the year, but just with our own family rhythm, it's like, okay, yeah, the garlic's definitely dry now, and we actually have time this weekend to do it. So usually my husband will dig it all up and bring it in. And I'm the one stood inside, like processing all of it in one go. I'm just sit there going, I am very grateful for all this harvest, and I'm peeling all the garlic I have to peel in 48 hours, and then I don't have to peel any garlic for the rest of the year. Okay.
Oh, you're hardcore prepping this stuff. So are you like peeling all the cloves and freezing them or something?
Yeah, so I sort of blanch them. I've learned over the years. You blanch them first, and then they all peel a lot easier. Blanch them and
Right.
then rinse and peel all the skins off. And then I freeze them. I like sort of vacuum seal, freeze them,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll have like one vacuum seal bag's worth in a big Kilner jar in my fridge that's full of apple cider vinegar. So I just
Right. Yeah.
decant it into there to keep it while I'm using it. And then when
Mm-hmm.
that finishes, then I go and get the next one. So that's what works for us. Because if we
You
braid
are
it and try
committed.
to dry it and do that whole thing, something's gonna eat it that's not us, and I'm not happy about that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It looks beautiful, but
Yeah.
that's very practical. And I think just on a side note, I think there's a lot of, again, I think we talked about in the very beginning about confusion. People get very confused about health, but I think
Mm.
it's not overly difficult to eat well, but it does take preparation.
Yes.
So that's the biggest thing I tell people with my own self, like, and I'm getting better with this as I get older, but being prepared, like being able to have stuff on hand, have stuff. Freezers are my
Mm-hmm.
best friend these days, especially since
Oh
having a
yeah.
kid.
Oh yeah.
The amount you can do with a freezer is remarkable. So you just have to be prepared. And sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, okay, I've spent hours peeling garlic, but it's worth
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Is it for me? It's like 2 days, and my back is definitely but there are herbs for that. And I'm like getting all the good, antimicrobial, antiviral garlic vibes in. So that's good. But yeah, Yeah, freezers, I love. Slow cookers, I love. Slow cooker, I now think of as my personal chef in
Mm-hmm.
my kitchen who's cooking when I'm not in there. And I prep dinner. So this is a random tangent, but this is one of my favorite, I don't know if you call it a life hack or whatever. So sharing in case it's helpful for anybody. I prep dinner in the morning,
Right.
like
Yeah.
before I make breakfast, because usually I'm got, my digestion's waking up. So I'm doing all my chopping and whatever. And I either chuck it in the slow cooker or I stick whatever it is in the oven with our oven kind of has a almost like a slow cooker type of settings. You set the temp and then you say, this is
Amazing.
how long I want it to cook and this is when I want it to be done by. I know. So good. Um, so then I know even more so than breakfast being very important because it tells your body, it tells your nervous system, there will be food today. I'm safe. For me, if I've prepped dinner even before breakfast, then everything can just, and then I'm like, oh, okay, now what do I want to make for breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that I don't have to worry about dinner. And then when we are ready for dinner, dinner is ready for us. So in case it's helpful for anybody, besides,
Yes.
freezers, prep dinner in the morning, or
That's
the
my
night
next
before.
mission. I'm
Yeah.
I'm like trying to find some good slow cooker recipes because I do think I watched a really funny reel for people who maybe have seen it, and it's a lady who kind of teaches you about parenting, but she's one of the only parenting pages I follow, and she said, it's come to my attention that some of you are cooking dinner from scratch every single night. Don't do it, you will die.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so funny, but it's so true. Like, I've absolutely burnt myself out fairly recently on cooking, and I
Yeah.
think if we can do it quickly like that and have something cooked for us and we have the time to clean up and we're not trying to
Mm.
do that super late at night, you can eat a healthy meal in a way
Mm-hmm.
that's sustainable for you. And I think it just makes a lot of sense. Again, preparation is the key for
Mm-hmm.
healthy eating, for eating well, for
Yes.
prepping your stuff from scratch. If you're that person like we both are,
Mm-hmm.
where we're like, we've got to make
Mm-hmm.
the food, we need to know what's going into it, then
Mm-hmm.
if you can, slow
Yeah.
cookers, that's my next mission. I got to bond with my slow cooker.
Yes, yeah, so you could either prep dinner in the morning, or if that doesn't work for you because you're out the door and you're going out somewhere, um, prep it after dinner. So like you're doing the washing up from dinner,
Mm,
and say the kids are in, once the kids are in bed, or maybe some one of you's doing the bedtime routine and the other one is washing up. Prep your dinner then, stick
yeah.
it in the slow cooker, and you can have your little slow cooker pot, keep it in the fridge overnight, and then the next morning just stick it onto the slow cooker and push the buttons. And you don't need any special slow cooker recipes. I literally just, whatever I'm going to cook, take the stuff, chop it up, chuck it in the slow cooker, turn it on. Like, you don't have to have special slow cooker recipes, so don't let that stop you. Just anything you would normally cook, just stick it in. It'll cook
There's your
it.
advice, guys. And
Yeah,
it's perfect for like what we call Marbon, Maybon season
exactly.
because, that's when we want low and slow, right? We want low and slow
Mm-hmm.
cooked foods that are going to be easier on that digestive
Mm-hmm.
process and almost pre-digested, especially if you're adding an acid, especially if you're a meat eater. I've said this a
Mm-hmm.
million times, but, pre-cooking, like cooking your food with an acid, like your meat, so that it's slightly pre-digested, it's so much
Mm-hmm.
easier on the stomach. And
Mm-hmm.
so, kind of, what are your other tips and info for this season?
Besides slow cooker life,
Slow cooker life. That's it. That's it. One and done. Slow cooker life. That's
what?
it.
Just slow cooker, and eat loads of garlic, and you're good. The focusing on, I know I've been saying it for the last couple seasons, well, for all of it, but focusing on rhythm, you know, bringing that rhythm into when are you prepping your meals so that you make sure you've got your nice warm cooked meals, making sure you've got your culinary herbs and spices in. This is a time when savory starts to meet sweet, although don't overdo it on the sweet too early. It's like Christmas decks. You don't want those out too early, otherwise you peak and then it's not even, Christmas time and you're like, oh no, I'm bored of it. So getting that bit of sweet in with the root veg, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Bring in the candlelight. This is a time as the nights are stretching, turn the lights down. Can you swap out your light bulbs for dimmer ones. All of the light bulbs we have in our house are quite orangey sort of glow, quite dim actually, because we're trying to get that feeling of candlelight. Sometimes we do just use candlelight, but candlelight, fireside, because we don't want that exposure to the bright lights, the fluorescent lights, the blue lights, the LEDs. We don't want that throwing off our circadian rhythm. And we mentioned microbiome just a few moments ago. When I was teaching microbiomes to my second years this year, we were talking about one of the biggest factors in that is circadian rhythm. And there are all kinds of, you can go have a little nerdy hunt if you want on PubMed for all sorts of, scientific, peer-reviewed journal articles, etc., about specific microbes in the gut that are friendly ones that thrive and flourish when we are synced up with the circadian rhythm, and the very specific unfriendly ones that flourish and proliferate when we are not synced with the sun. So sleep getting thrown off and being exposed to lots of blue light actually contributes to a microbiome dysbiosis, which we don't want because that throws off everything. And especially when we're talking about autumn equinox and there, more bugs seem to be flying around, illnesses that people can catch. So that's, a really important time. Sync up. Can you start going to bed a little bit earlier? Even if you can't, even if you've got no control over when you get up in the morning, because you've got to get to wherever you've got to get to. But can you start turning the evenings down, really calm them down? Get back into your body oiling. You could do your body oiling in the evening if you want. If you took a break over the summer. The elderberries are coming in, so your elderberry syrup, although my new favorite thing to do, which again I'm telling everybody, a student told me about this, is instead of making elderberry syrup as a syrup with all the sugar or the honey in it, make it as an elderberry decoction, which is just a fancy herbal way of saying simmer it in a pot rather than making it into a tea. Yes, simmer it in a pot for a long time. Put whatever else you want in it. Strain it off. Again, here comes a freezer. Freeze it in ice cube trays. And then when you want your elderberry syrup, pop a few cubes in your mug, pour some boiling water over it, and then add a little bit of honey if you want. So you're not getting that mega sugar hit. But your elderberry, your oregano, your rosemary, your sage, your ginger, your thyme, calendula is still actually at this time because it's a warming lymphatic cleanser. So you could add some calendula to your broths, to your soups, just to flush those last bits out that may be hanging around in the body. Maybe there's that bit of phlegm that you were still carrying around all year from, the previous cold months. Get that calendula in, flush it out now so you don't bring it forward. And make sure you've got your layers on, because as the temperature flies, I know it sounds really like, make sure you've got your hat and gloves with you, but make sure you've got your hat and gloves with you. Seriously. Yeah. I have reached a stage in life. I have no patience for being cold, right? I have a basket, literally it's a basket, obviously, in my boot. And all year round it is in there. And it has provisions for all seasons. All year round. So there's, there are coats, there are jumpers, there are layers, there are hats, there are scarves, everything, because you never know. The weather could turn a bit, right? So have your layers on. If it's cold in the morning and then it warms up, take a layer off. But then it gets cold again, put a layer back on.
The Capricorn in me completely understands that. I just got my first trunk organizer and I'm very excited about it.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's a whole new world. Yes. But it's also important from an Ayurvedic perspective because Vata is whipping up at this time. Yeah. The wind and the air. So the air and the ether and the ears are a key site where Vata can enter the body. we talk about I heard it on the ether, or clairaudience. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
keeping the ears warm and covered when the wind is whipping up will really help protect from extra vata coming in the body and whipping things up internally. So keep
Amazing.
your ears warm.
Interesting, yeah. And on the elderberry thing too. I mean, I've recommended that actually for many years, the ice cube thing, because somebody recommended it to me, one of my clients.
Yeah,
Funnily
yeah, yeah,
enough,
yeah.
people are so creative. But I made a batch that was too, like, a little bit too weak for a syrup, because I was making a syrup at the time, like a honey based
Mm.
syrup. And I actually ended up turning it, using all those herbs basically that you mentioned, and turning it into a throat. Was it like
Yeah.
a cough syrup?
Yeah, yeah,
And that was
yeah.
cool too. So, like, throwing a bunch of different herbs in with my elderberries,
Mm.
because I think we kind of pigeonhole elderberry a little bit. It's easy
Yeah.
to do because we're like, if you love elderberry, you love elderberry. Like, the smell makes you
Mm-hmm.
feel like, especially I think if you've got like that European descent, I feel like the smell for me it like reminds me of my ancestors. Like, it feels like home somehow, and I don't
Mm.
know exactly why. Whereas
Mm.
I've met other people who think it stinks, and I've actually met a
Mm.
few people like that who think it's just smells terrible and tastes disgusting, and I just can't relate. I think
Interesting.
it's amazing. I thought the
Yeah.
one person who first said it was crazy, but I've since heard that from like different people. So I don't know what it is. It's like the coriander gene
Mm.
or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, maybe.
um, like, I absolutely love it. But you can get creative with your plants. That's one of the best ways, is embodied herbalism, like being able to actually
Mm.
experience things. And did it taste the best? I'm actually really honest, no. It was okay, but my husband was like, I'm not taking this. But I think, being able to understand how to work with plants through these seasons, and what works for your
Mm.
individual body too,
Mm-hmm.
might be different, and what feels good in your body might be different to other people during this season as well. And so, always,
Mm.
honoring our individual selves, and what resonates with us.
Yes.
But then we head into the kind of what is also known. So we started with Yule. That's what I recognize as kind of the witch's new year. But the
Yeah.
one that everybody knows Samhain. Everybody knows, like, Halloween
Yes.
season. It is, it is very well known. It is a lot of witches' favorite season. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a good one to end on, because it's
Yes.
just, it's got a bit of hype around it. So
Yes. Yeah.
tell us about this season for you.
Yeah. So Samhain, Halloween, end of October, 31st of October. This is autumn turning to winter. And it is still very much Vata time. But where we've just had that time, I think, where it's predominantly the wind aspect of Vata, Samhain, I feel, is the ether aspect of Vata really coming to the fore. The ether is that, the ethereal, the liminal, I heard it through the ether, all of that. So, messages coming through from the other side of the veil. So ether is predominant at this time. You're meant to have all your harvests in and the garden turned down. Do we manage that in our family? No. We should have had, like, next year's garlic sown already. And I'm like, haven't ordered that yet. Like, maybe we should get on that. And it's now getting to the point where we're kind of a little bit, when you pass that point, you think, I'm just dreading it. So maybe I'll just wait
Yeah.
till spring and then I'll regret it. But present me is happy.
And it's never as bad as we think either. It's all in our heads.
No.
We just get a bit
We had a year, genuinely. We went out with our seedlings and our seeds, and we were ready to plant everything in our original veg beds, which are now the teaching garden.
Mm-hmm.
So foreshadowing of what happened. We went out to plant everything, and it was completely feral. Like, it had just gone insane. And we looked at each other, and there was basically a lot of screaming, a bit of swearing, a lot of crying. And
No.
what are we gonna do? And fortunately, because we have an acre and a half, we just sort of looked around and we were like, well, that bit's closer to the house, let's put it there. And we either had some wood, or we were able to get some wood really quickly. And I think we had kind of been planning on migrating stuff to there anyway, so we were just kind of forced to do it.
So you just
very
built a whole new bed.
So we built a whole new complex of beds in like a weekend because, I was like, we're not going to have any food. I mean, like there's still the grocery store, right? We're not, but it was like, we've got to plant it all out now. So it was very intense, very stressful, very vata deranging, but we got it done. And now that's where we grow our food. So I should really not let that go feral this year. Otherwise I'll be kicking myself next year.
It happens. It definitely happens. It gets away on you. Like, we live in the rainforest, and man, you don't go out there for a month or two. It is like, it is wild. Literally wild.
Like the rest of nature just goes, oh yeah, you thought you were in charge? Watch this.
Yeah.
That whole thing that you made, now there is nothing. I'm not manifesting that. I need to stop talking about it.
It's not going to happen this time.
No, we're going to sort it. It will be fine. And when I say we, I really mean my husband. But be like, well, I'm processing things in here. You go out and do it. But anyway, so Samhain. So we mentioned this with Beltane because it's the opposite side of the wheel. The veil is thin. So we're looking backwards towards our ancestors, our loved ones who have passed on. That's the balance. So this is when we're crossing another threshold between preparing all the outward actions. We're crossing that threshold into being resting, inward actions. So this is when the cozy really starts to set in. Vata continues to dominate. Ether is there. It's cold. It's dry. It's changeable. Dry, flaky skin can really start manifesting this time of year for people. Dry coughs, people who feel the cold, anybody who's got that tendency towards really cold hands and feet might be starting to feel it now. So this is a time when, if you were doing cold, uncooked foods, and that includes, that's not just a cold salad. That is also a smoothie, which Ayurveda says no to in general anyway. Sorry, smoothie fans.
Yeah.
You juicing, you muesli, no more. You're done. Stop it. Cook your stuff. Cooked meals, warm beverages, have soup for breakfast, have stew for breakfast. If you like a more kind of liquidy type of thing, if you're used to your smoothies, if you've been doing your cold mueslis, switch to your, porridge is kind of the warm equivalent of it. But always making sure you're getting your warming, pungent, aromatic, culinary herbs and spices into everything you're eating, everything you're drinking, because it's going to balance the cold of Vata season. It's going to keep the digestive fire going. It's going to deal with any unfriendly microbes. Same with body oiling. Unfriendly microbes coming your way, but you're all oily. Whoosh! They just slide right off. Bye! And like you glowing and you feel gorgeous and, saturated with deliciousness. So it's a nice thing to do. Although we usually, when we're coming up with combinations with my students, we kind of joke about, you could do some really savory aromatic combinations, and then you might smell a bit like a Sunday roast. So we say, but if that's like your husband's favorite thing, then you might want to smell like a Sunday roast. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it works.
Depends, or or your favorite thing or whatever. But I also say with Samhain, this is the time of year to really recalibrate on your boundaries. If they've gotten, let go of, or if they weren't there at all, start working on, and it's funny because all of those, when you look at the folklore of herbs and you see, there's always a mention of this one was used to ward off witches and that one protected against witches. Actually, all of those herbs are boundary herbs. And of course, they're also the ones that the quote unquote witches were using to take care of their health and other people's health and help people. But whatever, but the boundary herbs. So practicing setting and holding your boundaries now at Samhain, because when Yule comes, and there's a lot of social infringement from the Christmas season and celebrations on your boundaries. You've had a lot of practice saying no, and everyone else has had practice hearing you say no, so they've gotten used to it, so they're not surprised when you're like, no, I'm really not coming to that thing. Sorry. I'm just,
Yeah.
obviously say it in a nice way, but I have no desire. I'm not coming.
Yeah.
Or, can I celebrate with you on a one-to-one thing in a different way? If it's like a big, a big family thing that you just don't want to go to, or whatever, right? There are other ways.
Mm-hmm.
There are other ways to gather. So
Yeah.
practice setting those boundaries. And that also reminds microbes, boundaries. This
Mm-hmm.
is me. This is not me. That applies to emotions. That applies to energy. That applies to food and nourishment. That applies to
Mm-hmm.
relationships. That applies to germs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my lecturers used to say that the people with weak boundaries, weak personal boundaries, were always more likely to get parasites. And so when someone
Mm-hmm.
came in with a parasite, we would ask them about their boundaries with other people. And it was remarkable. It was actually,
Yeah.
to see how energetically, when we don't have strong boundaries, it opens us up. And this is going to be incredibly controversial, what I'm about to say.
Go on.
But drugs as well, like something that
Mm-hmm.
weakens our boundaries, weakens, I guess, from my mentor's perspective, weakens our aura.
Mm-hmm.
It leaves us open to a lot of other, energies, a lot of other entities,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be something spiritual or something physical, like a literal
Mm-hmm.
parasite from my creek or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's something you see time and time again in private practice, and it really,
Mm-hmm.
it shows that it's so important to maintain
Mm-hmm.
those. And if you don't have them at all, to start to unpack that and learn why and work on that with yourself. But people talk about spring cleaning, and actually I do too in the year. So you have like your big deep cleanse of your home
Mm.
and yourself. And so obviously spring equinox is a great time, or beginning of spring, and then to do the autumn as well, because you're
Mm-hmm.
going into the dark months of the year. And not only does it help to like actually get germs and dust and like anything that might impact our health negatively, to remove that from your space, but then also
Mm.
uphold those boundaries energetically in the home. It's like a perfect time for
Yes.
that.
Yeah, and like reseal, rebubble your house. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting you bring up the aura, because in some ways we've got so many, a microbiome, but then it gets divvied up into all sorts of different microbiomes. But we've got this microbiome that kind of encapsulates us. Yeah. And that, you could say, well, is that your aura? Is actually your, the microbiome, the
Mm.
microbes that are around you. And people walk past somebody and they're like, that person feels a
Mm.
bit, their microbiome bubble, their microbiome that extends beyond their physical person, is full of, unfriendly microbes, versus somebody else who's got a really nice aura, who's got a really lovely aura. They've
Yeah.
got loads of microbes in them. And it's not about how much somebody walks around and says love and light or whatever, because those people who are saying all that stuff, and you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't think I really want to hang around this person that much.
Yeah.
It's the microbes there. And I think, if you're doing, if somebody was doing any kind, and we don't do this on my courses, but I did, go to the College of Psychic Studies in London back in the day, so I have
Oh,
trained in all
wow.
kinds of fun things. And when we did aura gazing, and you're sort of looking at the color of somebody's auras, and if you're listening
Mm.
to this and going, what the heck is she talking about, don't worry about it. Focus on the microbes, because somebody who, it's interesting, when we were doing those exercises, and somebody would say, oh, if they felt like the aura of somebody was really kind of like dark and gungy, and not like a sort of bright, ephemeral color, that person, and I didn't have this knowledge when I was learning that. Now I look back and I grow microbiome
Yeah.
all the way.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And some of those really protective herbs like rosemary and lavender, highly antimicrobial, mugwort, antiparasitic, you
Mm.
know? And the other thing I was going to say about microbes and this time of the Samhain season in a bit of a fun way, um, warding off evil spirits. And, this is the time when people want to talk about like vampires and all that kind of, type of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what is a vampire? What is an evil spirit, but a
Mm-hmm.
virus or a
Yeah.
bacteria, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's
Feeding
in
off
a
of
way,
you.
it's feeding off of you, and it's draining you of your energy, and it's making you
Yeah.
feel unwell, and like, it's a microbe. Yeah. So
Mm.
boundaries. And with
Yeah.
Samhain, if you are doing things where you're reaching through the veil and you're chatting with your ancestors or whoever, still keep your boundaries up. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
talk to everybody. You wouldn't talk to just anybody walking on the street. So you don't have to talk to, you don't have to
Yeah.
talk to just
Not all
anybody.
ancestors were happy people, and it's true in
No.
life and true in their death. So,
Yeah.
there's definitely times where maybe we don't have to call on absolutely everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So keeping those boundaries and those practices. So as I said, your culinary herbs and spices, antimicrobial, they're going to fit the bill. Your mugwort, that's going to be, fitting the bill as well. If you really need to go for the antiparasitics, and I would say that's in a proper scenario where you've been somewhere, you've had exposure to some funky water or some really like funky food or something, go for the wormwood, um, which tastes, like it's effective, shall we
Brutal.
say?
Yeah.
Because it is. But you don't have to necessarily do that. You could do the mugwort. Neither of those are appropriate during pregnancy, though. So stay away
Mm.
from them
And,
in those
with
instances.
like if you're new to herbalism, no harm in reaching out to a practitioner either when working with those kinds of plants. It's
Mm-hmm.
always, if you've never worked with them, you don't have a relationship with them at this point in time, reach out to someone because they can be really harsh too. So it depends on your
Mm-hmm.
constitution. And so if it's something you want to look at working with, reach out to someone like, either of us or another practitioner who has experience with that and can
Mm.
help you formulate something that works really well for your body. I've done
Yes.
with parasites ones where we do two different formulas, and we'll do kind of one quite intense one around the full moon when parasites and
Yes.
bacteria tend to be more active, and then one that's a bit more nourishing and rebuilding in between. So there's
Mm-hmm.
lots of different ways you can do this, but all
Mm-hmm.
of this is perfect for this time of year.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that, I think, have we made it all the way around the
We
wheel?
have. We're all the way
Yeah.
around. And I think there's some really cool tips in there that people have definitely not heard before, and I haven't heard before, especially the Ayurvedic ones. So
Mm.
that's really exciting. But I know that you also have a lot of fabulous offerings, and ways that you teach. So one of the things coming up is actually your intensive herbalism course called Awaken
Mm-hmm.
Herbal Wisdom, I believe, and you're actually already taking applications for your 2026 intake. So would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah. So Awaken Herbal Wisdom, as you said, it's an intensive herbalism course, and it's for sort of home practitioners. And it essentially takes you up to what I like to call a preclinical level. So somebody who wants to learn it really, really well for themselves, for their family, for their friends, willing people. Although it was with a couple, immediate family, you can sort of be like, you're taking this. Um, but without having to do the 500 clinic hours and the
Mm.
final paper, all these things that I did when I was qualifying as a clinical practitioner. So it gets it really into you thoroughly, into your bones, into your mind, into your hands, into everything. So it becomes part of your life. It's a year-long course with up to 3 years of development. So you've heard me mentioning, as we've been chatting about my second year students, we've been talking about. So the first year is very much the foundations. We go really into detail with the herbal taste, which I know you and I have talked about before, and introducing your first core set of herbs, getting to know them really well, and the key messages of imbalance in the body. So that's the typical, like, fevers, coughs, colds, digestive upsets, headaches, that kind of thing. And then the second year, we tune more into the season. So we sync up with the wheel of the year. We look more at rhythms and pathways and flows within the body. So that's sort of my way of doing the cardiovascular system and the urinary system and the the digestive system without siphoning them up like that. I sort of combine them in a different way. So we're looking more holistically at flow. And then in the third year, we do the spiral of life. So we go through the 6 stages of life. We look at the key imbalances that tend to happen those stages, which herbs to pair. And every time we do another year, we bring forward everything from the year before. So by the end of the journey, you've got a really, really solid knowledge and practice and skill set of herbal medicine that you can use for yourself and for your family. And we gather, it's a combination of in-person sessions once a season in our yurt in the Yorkshire countryside in the UK, and then live online Zoom sessions in between, so that it's sort of bit by bit as we go, rather than one big chunk and then a gap, so that it's keeping it active for you, keeping it in your life, so that it gets everything sort of saturated with it. And the people we have are really, really lovely, really, really lovely. We've had some incredible friendships. One of our, no, well, definitely 2 of our cohorts are really tight friends, and they're always like, we're going out for dinner afterwards, when we do the in-person meetings. They get together outside of things. One of our cohorts is currently plotting some sort of like remedy making circle amongst themselves. We're like, I'll make some of this, you make some of that, and then we'll come to the yurt, and then we can we swap, and let's get organized. And there's somebody in there who's like, I'll spreadsheet the whole thing, and it's just like, it's fab, So the groups kind of become their own entities, and then part of the wider community, which is a real physical community of, as I like to say, real people who will hug you. So that's what we do. And applications tend to open kind of early summer for the cohorts beginning in the following spring. And applications are open currently for cohorts beginning in spring 2026, and the places are starting to fill up. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, ooh, that's interesting, definitely pop to the links in the show notes, sign up to our mailing list, request an application, and get that in, because everything's filled on a first come first served basis. So
yeah, and I think people have a really good understanding. Again, it's our second episode together, and like second session together, and I think people get a really good feel now for the way that you teach, which is it's lots of stories, and it's fun and it's easy to understand, and I think that you provide so much valuable information for people, but in a way that is understandable, and they can bring it into their homes and into their communities and actually practically work with it, which I think is really important. It's all good and well to just give someone a bunch of words on a page, but to be able to integrate that into your life in a meaningful way is, you can't discount that from a teaching experience. So, this is why it's so important to pick your teachers well, and find the person that works for you. And I'm sure there's going to be people listening to this who feel like you're that teacher for them. And so definitely I'll pop all of your information in the show notes, and I'm really sorry to all those Australians who are listening who are like, do you know what, I need to go for a holiday.
Well, come for a holiday. We've actually, somebody's joining us next year who's she's relocating from Australia. She was doing that anyway. She's not doing it just for the course, but she's relocating from Australia anyway. And she was like, I can come. And I'm like, yes, you can come. Great.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, well, thank you so much again, Meghan, for sharing all of your wisdom and your tips and your tricks and slow cooker advice, of course. And it's always so wonderful chatting to you. I loved exploring the Wheel of the Year and the Ayurvedic Doshas and how that all works together for a really holistic seasonal approach to our health and well-being. And I definitely look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's always fab to chat with you. So, yes, we'll do it again for sure.